The meeting is small and carefully scheduled, late enough to feel private, early enough to feel controlled. Polite expressions sit comfortably on practiced faces. Coffee cools untouched. She speaks first, calmly, explaining restructuring, alignment, and future direction. Her tone suggests kindness, not consequence. Documents slide across the table with quiet confidence. No raised voices. No tension. He listens without interruption, nodding once, scanning lines no one else watches. One clause is softly highlighted, a detail everyone assumes is routine. It is not. He signs without questions, thanks them, and stands. Relief spreads through the room, subtle and shared. They believe resolution has arrived. They do not realize this meeting ended nothing. It simply moved authority elsewhere. The story quietly rewinds to an earlier chapter, during expansion years filled with urgency and ambition. Cash was limited then, and promises were fragile. While others negotiated bonuses, he asked different questions. He requested protection, permanence, and accountability built into language few bothered to read twice. The clause was unusual but lawful, tied to performance milestones and forced separation. Lawyers approved it. Executives signed it. Everyone moved on. He never referenced it again, never reminded anyone it existed. Time passed. Growth followed. Profits stabilized. The company matured. Termination triggered the mechanism automatically. No meeting was required. No permission was needed. Ownership shifted silently, recorded precisely, executed without emotion. 10% transferred hands through process, not conflict. Nothing dramatic happened, except control changed forever. The notification arrives mid-morning, buried between routine updates and calendar reminders. Its language is neutral, precise, unmistakably legal. An ownership adjustment, effective immediately. No explanation. No commentary. Just confirmation. Board members pause. Some reread it carefully. Others forward it to counsel, waiting for reassurance that does not come. Silence replaces the earlier confidence that once filled those rooms. Questions form but remain unspoken. She notices the shift last. Authority has always responded to her presence, her voice, her timing. Today it does not. The numbers say something different now. He makes no announcement. He sends no message. He does not attend meetings or request acknowledgement. He simply allows the information to do its work. Power moves fastest when it explains nothing. Meetings begin to feel different, though no one admits it aloud. Conversations slow slightly. Decisions take longer. People who once spoke over him now pause, measuring their words. Some begin asking questions they previously avoided, careful ones, framed as curiosity. He answers briefly, without emphasis, without instruction. His tone never changes. Influence spreads in subtle directions, carried by awareness rather than command. No announcements mark the shift. No titles are updated. Yet alignment follows him naturally. She watches this from a distance, noticing how rooms adjust when he enters, how silence forms before agreement. He speaks less than ever, choosing moments with restraint. Control does not arrive loudly. It settles gradually, like gravity, unnoticed until movement requires effort. By the time anyone recognizes it, resistance no longer matters. She requests a private meeting framed as reconciliation, not negotiation. The setting is neutral, familiar, intentionally calm. She speaks about history, shared effort, and the value of continuity. Her voice carries sincerity mixed with calculation. She proposes advisory roles, consulting arrangements, and quiet influence. Loyalty is mentioned carefully, as if it still holds weight. He listens without interruption, hands folded, expression unchanged. When she finishes, he responds politely, even warmly. He explains there is no conflict, no resentment, no personal grievance to resolve. Structure has already decided what emotion cannot reverse. He declines with courtesy, not firmness. Nothing needs repairing. Nothing was broken. The system worked exactly as designed. She leaves understanding something too late. Some consequences cannot be managed. They only unfold. The vote is scheduled without spectacle, placed among routine agenda items. No one expects disruption. He does not challenge leadership, question competence, or revisit the past. Instead, he proposes adjustments to governance that feel logical, even overdue. Oversight becomes clearer. Reporting grows sharper. Accountability replaces performance theater. The room agrees more easily than expected. Resistance feels unnecessary, almost irrational. Results matter again. Processes simplify. Politics lose relevance. She watches the shift happen through procedures she once controlled. Authority moves from personality to structure. Stability replaces momentum driven by image. The company begins to settle, stronger and quieter. Markets respond favorably. Employees feel direction without pressure. Nothing dramatic marks the change. No victory is claimed. Progress continues steadily. Real power rarely announces transformation. It lets outcomes speak. Time passes without ceremony. He fades from visibility by choice, not exclusion. His name appears occasionally in filings, never headlines. The company grows steadily, guided by systems that no longer depend on personalities. She moves on to other ventures, carrying experience, but fewer illusions. The story is never discussed directly, yet its influence lingers. New contracts are reviewed more carefully. Clauses are read, not skimmed. Inside legal departments, the incident becomes a quiet reference point. Not a scandal, not a warning, but a lesson embedded in procedure. People remember without retelling. He remains unreachable, unremarkable, entirely at peace with distance. Control has already done its work. The clause becomes legend, not for revenge, but for precision. This story was never about humiliation or retaliation. It was about preparation exercised with restraint. The loudest reactions came from those who assumed silence meant weakness. They misjudged patience as absence. Experience does not compete for attention. It observes patterns, understands timing, and trusts process over impulse. When action finally arrives, it feels inevitable rather than aggressive. No explanation is required. People who underestimate calm competence often believe consequences arrive dramatically. They expect noise, confrontation, visible struggle. What they rarely anticipate is resolution delivered quietly, backed by foresight rather than emotion. Wisdom accumulates without spectacle. It waits inside decisions made years earlier, protected by clarity and discipline. In the end, power does not seek revenge. It seeks alignment. And when alignment comes, everything else adjusts around it.